Good afternoon. In this lunch hour news broadcast, we round up updates on the news making headlines in Namibia, Africa and the globe, giving you local community stories, international updates, economics, sports and politics. Lined up in this lunch hour, 55 40mm rifle grenades detonated along the Kupferberg road by the Namibian Police's Explosives Unit. MVF Pemba Bay employees have not received a salary for the past 2 months. Agriculture Minister stands up for himself amid accusations of not being willing to meet leaders of the two Kavango regions regarding the outsourcing of green schemes. Othithia Festival and Career Fair concludes. Al-Qaeda leader killed in US drone strike. I am Ashwin Berry and this is NMH at 1. In today's midday news update, firefighters and water tankers are needed in Okahanja after a fire broke out at the Jumbo Charcoal factory this morning. According to information received, although the fire brigade is there, they have been struggling to contain the fire. This is a developing story. Remember to engage us on social media and leave your thoughts in the comments as we share stories from local communities on the other side of this short break in our visual news segment.
Namibia's hospitality is as vibrant as its people. Join the What's Cooking team as they travel the country cooking, chatting, and celebrating local personalities and the joy of food. If you think you have a standout offering, whether it's a restaurant, bar, pop-up event, or braai stand, get in touch with the What's Cooking team at cooking@synergy.com.na and we will be there to show the world what's cooking. Programs air every Friday at 4 p.m. on all the NMH Facebook platforms, as well as on NTV, DSTV channel 285, and GoTV channel 94 at 9 p.m.
Getting into today's visual news clips, yesterday 55 40mm rifle grenades of South African origin were detonated along the Kupferberg road by the Namibian Police's Explosives Unit. According to Commissioner Ismail Basson, regional commander for the Commerce region, members of the Namibian Defence Force went searching for wood and came across the explosive devices and informed the police. Claudia Reiter reports.
That must be a nice one. This one I captured very nice. Huh?
That's perfect. Commissioner, where are we here exactly? Where are we at the moment?
Yes, we are about 7 kilometers from Kupferberg roadblock on the Danville road. Pass. It's not the Danville. Kupferberg pass. So why we are here is to, we're informed there was even a tip-off of explosives. On our arrival we found that there is a lot of 40mm rifle, high explosive hand grenades, rifle grenades. And what we did so far is we detonate once, but once after we did that, we found that there are more than what we saw. As a result, we are forced to make sure that we make us another explosion so that we make sure that the area is clear, totally clear. As for now, we are not sure whether the area is clear because we can still see detonated ordnances. So that is just one of the people that we are saying. When people are going around in the bushes, always be vigilant for all kinds of ordnances. In this case, undetonated ordnances.
The workers of MVF Pemba Bay, a freezer vessel operating under Sea Scope, say they haven't received a salary the past 2 months, nor any answers regarding whether they are still employed or not. Sea Scope is a joint venture between Seaflower Whitefish Corporation Limited and Spanish-Finnish fishing company, Cope Mar. Leandro Lowe was there.
Since we come from the sea, on the 28th of March 2022, the company did not give us any official notifications about working conditions until today. We only experienced the salary of April came on the 16th of May, and May's salary came on the 8th of June, instead of 25th of every month is an agreed salary date. And from there, our salary stopped completely until to date. And the 2 late paid salaries were paid by forcefully through the Office of Labor and the union. We have signed an agreed bonus for the year 2022 to 2021 and is not yet paid also.
Agriculture Minister Karl Schlatwein did not take it lightly after being accused of not being willing to meet leaders of the 2 Kavango regions in as far as the outsourcing of green schemes is concerned. The minister publicly confronted Chairperson of Kavango West Regional Council Joseph Sikongo, who made the allegation, saying they
you came back after writing to you from the 27th of May 2022. Then June came, July came, almost 2 months. But if it is the same way, you may come back, you may not find all of us. Because life does not guarantee. But what we want is, Comrade Minister, at least to come back with time.
Thank you. I do share your point that time is of the essence. But let me take then this opportunity to remind you that I've written a letter to you to help me with developing criteria for communal land administration. That was 2 years ago. You have not even responded. I have discussed green schemes with you 2 years ago. I have had no word from you. So now you are complaining? Clean your own house before you come with these stories to me. So I think we are consulting you, and I agree we must consult. But don't come with that type of stories to me when you yourself are much more guilty than I am. I am here and you have not even acknowledged that. Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for that. I also don't remember what you are talking about. I really don't remember. But as far as the region is concerned, once a request is sent to us, we respond with time, because we are always given a deadline, and we always respond upon the deadline.
Now, the Omuthia of the Thea Festival and Career Fair concluded on Sunday. Tinohole Mungoba attended the event.
The Umithia Festival and Career Fair started on the 29th of July and concluded on Sunday the 31st of July. The event was officially opened by Information and Communication Technology Minister Dr. Paya Moshelenga on behalf of the Vice President Nangolo Mbumba. The event is organized by the Umuthia Town Council and Latangi Investment. It brought together 125 exhibitors, amongst them SMEs, corporates and educational institutions. The festival is aimed at boosting the local economy and the town of Umuthia.
It's very important that we follow through and do not forget what our leaders tell us. They give us information. So it is up to us as residents of Umuthia to make use of such information and develop our beautiful capital of the Oshkoto region. My task here was very simple, was to welcome you all, but I felt it was very necessary to encourage you and appreciate the hard work that you've done, the investment that you've made into this event, in order to ensure that it's a success. And with no doubt, it is a success.
Umuthia or Tithia, beautiful name. Now the daily newspapers are a go-to source for the latest news. When we return, we take a look at some of the reports from the newspapers on the shelves today. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1.
We Talk brings you community news that lies at the heart of Windhoek residents. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact wetalk@synergy.com.na. You live, we talk.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. The first paper under review, the Namibian Sun, takes us to the Kavango East and West regions, where the governors Bonifacius Wakudumo and Sirka Ausiku, backed by their regional councils and traditional leaders, have rejected cabinet's plan to outsource green schemes in their regions. In a submission handed over to Agriculture Minister Karl Schleitvine amid heated accusations yesterday in Rundu, where the minister made a stop from the Zambezi region, communities said they reject the plan to outsource the green schemes without mandatory involvement of locals. In March, Schleitvine told investors in Dubai that government will this year issue a request for proposals to lease out 11 green schemes. In a separate story, the paper reports that Namibian Police Inspector General Sebastian Detunga, who is retiring at the end of this month, has submitted a list of his potential successors to President Hage Geingob. Speaking to Namibian Sun on Sunday, Detunga, a decorated officer of the law, said there should be no worry over who will succeed him, as he has trained his subordinates well. Deputy Minister of Urban and Rural Development Natalia Hoahoses says the Shack Dwellers Federation of Namibia is playing a crucial role in building houses all over the country. Now, this reports on the page 3 of Namibian Sun. She made the comments during a handover of houses in Oshinene in the Omaheke region last weekend. In another story, the paper reports that Popular Democratic Movement has expressed worry at the state of its branches ahead of the 2024 presidential and national elections. An audit conducted in 2021 indicated that 127 of the party's 273 political branches are malfunctioning. The findings are contained in a PDM National Branch document seen by the Namibian Sun, in which the party details restructuring processes currently underway. According to the audit, only 166 of the party's branches are functional. The industry is growing. We only go one way, and this is the right direction. With expansion comes more revenue, more jobs, and more what is better for everyone. That's how the CEO of the Namibian Chamber of Mines, Mr. Veston Malango, said yesterday. He knew details made about the first mining expo after the disruption of COVID-19, and which led to a virtual conference last year. The export takes place on August 31. He is satisfied as his analysis indicates that mining in Namibia, the wave of the beginning of driving the next super cycle in global commodity prices. Provision is made for 150 stores at the Windhoek showgrounds for the expo, of which 126 have already been booked, and the remaining 24 will go to his expectation, and it will quickly be snapped up. On its page 2, the Republican newspaper reports that yesterday afternoon, the Namibian police detonated 55 40mm rifle grenades of South African origin along the Kupferberg road. According to the Commissioner Ismail Basson, regional commander in the Khomas region, members of the Namibian army searched for wood and came across the explosive devices. They have immediately notified the police. After the first 22 exploded, the police came across no more than 33 that were exposed by the first explosions. The police have also detonated these devices. The lead story in the Allgemeine Zeitung reports of a video clip by the local folk in the Kavango East region, which shows Recon Africa supposedly in the process of unlawful mining of sand not far from the settlement of Nkaute. It is alleged that nobody was consulted except for the headman. Commentators known to the paper attribute this act to the fact that Recon Africa feels emboldened by the court ruling that rejected an application of local conservancies and the conservancy umbrella organization KEWR-CCFA. These had aimed at putting a stop to the ongoing gas and oil exploration in that area. The case had been rejected on a technicality rather than its substance. In the meantime, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police has begun investigating complaints by 2 Canadian nationals who suspect Recon Africa of possible corruption and securities fraud. On its page 2, the Allgemeine Zeitung reports that the government institution's pension fund yesterday presented and launched its new biometric enrollment and verification service. In cooperation with the local IT company Virtua Technologies and the German tech company Dermalog Identification Systems from Hamburg, the GIPF has been able to finalize a project that will automate and speed up many of the identification procedures related to many thousands of GIPF members. Stay with us as we continue with news from the dailies after the break.
Tourismus Namibia is a weekly tourism show that brings you the latest news in the tourism industry and topics related to that. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact tourismus@synergy.com.na for news and advertising related queries. Tourismus, bring the world to Namibia.
Continuing with news from the local papers, the Namibia Local Business Association has called on President Hage Geingob and ministers to halt international trips in order to save money and rather do everything within their power to avoid a civil servant strike. The association also suggested that the cash-strapped government give 10% of tax revenue collected from civil servants back to them to stave off the industrial action. Geingob and a delegation which includes the First Lady Monica Gengos were expected to travel to Jamaica on Thursday for a 5-day state visit, according to media reports. In another front-page story, the Namibian reports that the former Labour Minister Marlene Mungunda has been accused of using the Sam Nujoma Foundation and her political status to book accommodation at a Windhoek guest house without settling the bill. Now, a union has accused the Fishing Corporation of Namibia of abandoning around 50 fishermen without saying a word, a month after sending nearly 500 workers into the streets. The 50 fishermen, as reported by the Namibian, worked on the Pemba Bay hake fishing vessel at Walvis Bay, which is operated by Fishcor's joint venture company Seacope Freezer Fishing. Deputy Prime Minister and International Relations Minister Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah at the 60th commemoration of Pan-African Women's Organization in Windhoek on Sunday said that African women should support one another and put to shame those who believe that women should continue to suffer from the pull-down syndrome. She said this would result in a significant contribution to the political agenda and economic emancipation. New Era's front page reports that the Hobabis municipality, struggling to provide basic services to its residents, is paying 6 suspended senior managers millions while they sit idle at home, waiting to be charged for over a year. The 6, whose salaries range between 900,000 Namibian dollars and 1.1 million Namibian dollars annually, have been on suspension since June and August last year. Trans-Namib workers will take to the polls to decide whether they will strike after their failed salary negotiations, according to New Era. The company and bargaining union, the Namibian Transport and Allied Workers Union, reached an out-of-court settlement on 27 July, which stipulates the workers will cast their votes on 12 August. The National Rail Service operator took Natal to the labor after the union resorted to conducting industrial action in the form of a strike which was scheduled for 18 July. Trans-Namib claimed that this decision to strike was made without having fully complied with strike rules. There is no reason why government's green hydrogen ambitions and its hopes to become a major oil producer should be seen as competing interests, as both would drive large-scale economic growth and development in Namibia. These should be seen as two sides of the same coin. While potential fossil fuel discoveries could in fact help realize Namibia's green hydrogen, or rather renewable energy ambitions, Ceres Capital says in the update to its economic outlook. Government has been marketing Namibia as a green hydrogen hub since the United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP26, in Glasgow, Scotland last year. Early this year, Total Energies and Shell both announced discoveries of light oil offshore Namibia. No production will take place at the Peugeot Opel assembly plant at Walvis Bay until the Ministry of Finance approves the policy of calculating rebates. This and more news from the economic space right after this.
Chill Sessions is an entertainment show that brings you the latest hit, fashion, and entertainment news. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact chill at synergy.com.na. Chill Sessions, bringing art and entertainment to the people.
Getting into today's economic news stories, no production will take place at the Peugeot Opel assembly plant at Walvis Bay until the Ministry of Finance approves the policy of calculating rebates under the South African Customs Union policy on rules of origin. This is according to the Deputy Executive Director of Trade and Industrialization, Michael Humavindu. He says the vehicle plant will not close or relocate elsewhere, adding that the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade was working with the Ministry of Finance to ensure the plant, in which the government owns a 49% stake and French automaker Groupe PSA has a majority 51% share, starts exporting vehicles that are competitive in the market. Humavindu says when a Southern African Customs Union member country assembles cars and brings in the knockdown parts, the 60-40 rules of origin policy applies, meaning 40% of parts must be sourced locally. An additional 18% tax has to be added to the price of the vehicle, which then makes that vehicle uncompetitive on the market, he says. According to Humavindu, Namibia literally imports 100% vehicle components as the country does not manufacture any. However, under the rules of origin, local means within SACU countries. This means Namibia can source the local 40% from within SACU. Addressing a public consultation on national policy on sustainable special economic zones in November last year, the Minister of Industrialization and Trade, Lucia Ipumbu, said the 18% tax was among the challenges that had bogged down progress at the 190 million Namibian dollar assembly plant. South Africa has halted tariffs on poultry for 12 months as part of measures to ease food inflation. The government suspended duties on imports from of protein from Brazil, Denmark, Ireland, Poland, and Spain because of the impact they may have on the price, according to a gazette published on Monday. Chicken is one of the more affordable protein sources in South Africa. The annual inflation rate reached 7.4% in June, the highest level since the global financial crisis, with food prices rising rising 9%. The price of 10 kilograms of frozen chicken pieces increased almost 14% in June from a year earlier to 383.53 Rand, according to the Household Affordability Index compiled by the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group, a prominent anti-poverty organization. That brings us to the end of our economic news stories. Let's have a look at the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar rose in value when weighed against the Chinese yuan, but has dropped against other major currencies. MTC stock prices have dropped by 7.5% on the NSX, now trading for 2 Namibian dollars and 45 cents. Both local and overall indexes have dropped on the NSX, while most stock prices remain unchanged. Brent crude oil per barrel now trades at a cost of 6.13% lower, while the rest of these major commodities have increased in price. After the break, we take a look at stories from across Africa, starting in South Africa, where protests by angry residents turned violent, leading to the loss of lives. More coming up on NMH at 1.
Sunset News is a daily news show focusing on national headlines as well as international news. If you'd like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, please contact sunset@synergy.com.na. Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.
You are still watching NMH at 1. We now bring you news from the African continent, followed by international news from the rest of the globe. As scores of Tembisa residents in South Africa vow to continue with their protests until their grievances over service delivery shortfalls are met, the economic freedom fighters have called on the South African Police Services and Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department to practice restraint in their interactions with protesters. Yesterday, the township was completely shut down as protests by angry residents turned violent, claiming the lives of at least 4 people. The EMPD confirmed that another 2 people died during the volatile protests. The 2 bodies were found near the customer care center, where the municipal center was set alight. The EFF says the party is saddened by the deaths of the community members. The trigger-happy police have shown incompetence and a failure to control a volatile situation by resorting to killing people instead of managing the situation, the party said. The EFF says the violent service delivery protests in Tembisa came as a result of the constant rise in the cost of living, electricity, and general poverty that characterizes South African society. Meanwhile, it's not yet clear if roads have reopened after they were barricaded with rocks and burning tires, and local businesses, including petrol stations and food outlets, closed. At least 6 people were killed and dozens injured yesterday when a fuel truck exploded in southwestern Libya, medics said. The precise causes of the blast were not clear. It happened when a crowd flocked around the tanker as it headed to resupply a petrol station in the Bent Bahia district. A stampede occurred, followed by a massive explosion that set several cars on fire, according to images posted online. An official at the main hospital in Seba, southern Libya's main city, told AFP 6 people had died. The hospital's management said on Facebook that more than 50 wounded were admitted to Seba Hospital, without indicating the number of deaths. Many of the wounded were in a critical state, said a security source in Seba, hundreds of kilometers south of the capital Tripoli. Interim Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Beiba tweeted that his government was closely following the incident. We have ordered a crisis cell to urgently transfer the wounded to major hospitals, he said. Libya has Africa's largest proven oil reserves, but chronic corruption and theft for smuggling to neighboring countries means that the pumps often run dry. Southern Libya is particularly affected by poor services and a lack of investment, more than a decade since the overthrow and killing of Muammar Gaddafi in a NATO-backed uprising in 2011. Stay with NMH at 1 as we bring you international stories after the break. In this afternoon's international news stories, the U.S. has killed the leader of Al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri, in a drone strike in Afghanistan. President Joe Biden has confirmed he was killed in a counterterrorism operation carried out by the CIA in the Afghan capital of Kabul on Sunday. He and Osama bin Laden plotted the 9/11 attacks together, and he was one of America's most wanted terrorists. Biden said Zawahiri had carved a trail of murder and violence against American citizens. Since the United States delivered justice to bin Laden 11 years ago, Zawahiri has been a leader of Al-Qaeda, Biden said. From hiding, he coordinated Al-Qaeda's branches and all around the world, including setting priorities for providing operational guidance and calling for and inspired attacks against U.S. targets. Officials said Zawahiri was on the balcony of a safe house when the drone fired 2 missiles at him. Other family members were present, but they were unharmed, and only Zawahiri was killed in the attack, they added. Biden said he had given the final approval for the precision strike on the 71-year-old Egyptian after months of planning. His killing will bring closure to families of the nearly 3,000 victims of the 2001 attack, said Biden. Zawahiri is said to also have masterminded other acts of violence, including the suicide bombing of the USS Cole naval destroyer in Aden in October 2000, which killed 17 U.S. sailors, and the 1998 attacks on the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, in which 223 people died. Biden insisted that Afghanistan would never again become a safe haven for terrorists. The killing of Zawahiri comes nearly a year after U.S. troops completed their withdrawal from Afghanistan on the orders of Mr. Biden, bringing an end to a 20-year military presence there. Taiwan is preparing its air raid shelters as rising tensions with China and Russia's invasion of Ukraine raise new fears about the possibility of a Chinese attack on the democratic island. China considers Taiwan its territory and has increased military activity in the air and seas around it. Taiwan vows to defend itself and has made strengthening its defenses a priority with regular military and civil defense drills. The preparations include designating shelters where people can take cover if Chinese missiles start flying in, not in purpose-built bunkers, but in underground spaces like basement car parks, the subway system, and subterranean shopping centers. The capital of Taipei has more than 4,600 such shelters that can accommodate some 12 million people, more than 4 times its population. Taipei officials have been updating their database of designated shelters, putting their whereabouts on a smartphone app and launching a social media and poster campaign to make sure people know how to find their closest one. Stay with us on NMH at 1, as after the break we bring you local sports.
Straight Talk is a debate competition for high school learners and a spelling competition for primary school learners, mostly focusing on current affairs among the youth. Contact Zone at synergy.com.na to share your products and services. Straight Talk. Don't raise your voice, improve your argument.
Heading into local sport on NMH at 1, Namibian boxers at the ongoing Birmingham Commonwealth Games, Jonas Junius and Try Again Ndevelo, will tomorrow again be in action as they continue their individual quest for silverware. All the best, lads. Following a 2-year hiatus, Marine Namibia, in partnership with the School Sports Union, relaunched the Bridging the Gap initiative. An administrative blunder has led to Namibian swimmer Zander Skinner missing out on 3 events at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. Skinner had qualified for the 50-meter, 100-meter and 200-meter freestyle events, as well as the 50-meter butterfly. But shortly before the start of the Games, was informed that he had only been entered for the 100-meter freestyle. His mother, Sonia, who is in Birmingham supporting Zander along with his father, Alex, said the news came as a huge blow. According to Skinner, the Namibia Swimming Federation is responsible for the entries, and they send it through to the Namibian National Olympic Committee, which in turn sends it through to the Commonwealth Games Federation. Stay with us as we head into international sport. Namibian international Dion Hoto insists that he remains unshaken by the criticism leveled at him when Orlando Pirates lost the CAF final to Morocco's RS Berkane in May, saying he is focused on future opportunities. Australian swimming sensation Emma McKeon won a record-extending 12th gold medal at the Commonwealth Games on Monday as cycling star Laura Kenny finished her campaign with an emotional gold. It was another night of domination in the Birmingham pool for Australia, who now have 16 golds at the Sandwell Aquatic Centre out of a possible 33. French League One side Nice on Monday announced the arrival of Wales midfielder Aaron Ramsey a week after the 31-year-old left Juventus with a year left to run on his contract. Ramsey joined Juve in 2019 as a free agent after spending almost 8 years at Arsenal and won the Serie A title in his first campaign in Turin. Last season, he spent 5 months on loan at Rangers before helping his country to qualify for this year's World Cup with a playoff win over Ukraine. According to various sources, Ramsey has signed a one-year contract with Nice. He is the fourth signing of the summer transfer window for the South Coast club. Now, if you're just joining us, we'll bring you up to speed with the highlights from today's broadcast right after this commercial break. You are watching NMH at 1, and if you have just joined us, here are your news highlights. On Monday, the Tembisa township was completely shut down as protests by angry residents turned violent, claiming the lives of at least 4 people. Namibian boxers at the ongoing Birmingham Commonwealth Games, Jonas Junius and Try Again Nevelo, will tomorrow again be in action as they continue their individual quests for silverware. The U.S. has killed the leader of Al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri, in a drone strike in Afghanistan, President Joe Biden has confirmed. Those have been your highlights. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1 and spending your lunch hour with me, Ashwin Berry. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. as we take you through the latest happenings in Namibia and beyond. That's it from us in studio, but stick around for an update on the Kavango regions and surrounding areas brought to us by our correspondent Kenya Kambowe in today's regional review. Happy Tuesday.
Good day and welcome to another episode of Regional Review. I'm Kenya Kambowe, the Namibian Media Holdings correspondent in the Northeastern regions. On today's show, we'll be giving you highlights of events that unfolded in the Northeastern regions over the past week. In history, today is Coloring Book Day, so check out the next video. Our first story under review is that of the Police Senior Command Conference that took place in Rundu last week. So basically, this is where all the heads of departments, regional commanders, the Inspector General, as well as the Police Minister come together to talk about strategies on how to improve service delivery to the public, which is obviously public safety. So one of the issues that stood out was the issue of whereby the minister lashed out against corrupt police officers within the force, as well as talking about how important it is for community to assist with policing in their communities. So basically, this is what happened, and this is what the minister had to say.
I therefore expect this conference to pass a resolution to review the current policies on police officers who are committing crimes in order to close loopholes which are there. And here I must also commend our Inspector General, because he does not tolerate any police officer at whatever level committing crimes. And in most cases, after disciplinary inquiry, disciplinary hearing, these culprits are dismissed from the force in order to make sure that the force is clean, the force is entrusted to administer what is required in terms of our constitution, in terms of our police act, in terms of other laws. We play a pivotal role in our democratic setup. And for this, really, I salute you. I salute also the Inspector General. Because those few elements whom we call or refer to as rotten apples, they have that effect of tarnishing the entire police force, which is really most unfortunate. And that's why we have to be alert. We are the seniors who are carrying out some of the functions on behalf of the Inspector General. So maybe this area of police involving themselves, some, very few, as I said, very few, in criminal activities, we may have an opportunity to pass a resolution to see how this area can be handled. So this will make it easy for commanders to guard against all those who are tarnishing the good image of the police force and of our beloved country.
Our second story is about the green schemes in our country. So basically what happened is that last year Cabinet decided to outsource the 11 green schemes in our country. However, the leaders of the two Kavango regions felt that they were not properly consulted, hence they came together to do some kind of a report which they made, or a submission which they gave to the Minister of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, Honorable Carlos Leitwan. In this report or document, the two Kavango regions want to be part and parcel of how the green schemes are going to be run, seeing that this land on which the green schemes are, they were given by the various traditional authority free of charge to the government in order for them to uplift the livelihoods of the communities in which these green schemes are formed, as well as producing food for the country, and which can also be exported eventually. But the feel on the ground is that the green schemes are not being utilized optimally. So basically, they wanted now to say, they came together and said that no, seeing the mistake that were done before, which led to the collapse of the green schemes, we want to be part and parcel of these green schemes so that we can ensure that whenever there are problems, we at least have the mandate to reprimand the new owners and all that. So, and for us to, for the green schemes to be run effectively. So basically, that was it, and this is what some of the engagement that took place in the Rundu auditorium.
Land to government, but then the same people to whom, I mean, when the government now lease this land to the investors. So, like for example, Musese, there are issues at court, but the person, Ferreira, is well off, he's living, but the surrounding communities there, people are laughing at them. You surrendered your land to the government, yet you are poor. Equally also the same at Sitemo. So agricultural fields, government put money and cleared, put all the physical infrastructure, but even the production is not 100%. For example, Sitemo is having 800 hectares. The current service provider there is only plowing, let us say, 100 hectares. So now the shrubs, the grass, that area is growing up. But then these people, from what they are producing there, they are well off. The same people are getting, laughing at us, you stupid Kavangos, You surrendered your land, yet you are poor, but they are benefiting from those green schemes. So it is an issue. So they are saying currently, their children, their families in this region also, they are with agricultural expertise who can also put up business to run these entities. Time has come that they are also to be given opportunity to run these green schemes. I just wanted to expand what he said. Thank you.
I'm very happy because I see we are not quarreling. The review of the green schemes is exactly to correct what you have pointed out as the problem. The review of the green scheme is exactly what the Puma has pointed out as a problem. The local people must benefit. That is what we are doing. So what we are complaining is what went wrong in the past. But the findings you have tabled and the findings I have discussed with you and the findings that the PUMU and the traditional authorities and the governors go to me are all telling us the same story. So we are agreeing. And I'm very happy that I have that agreement from you. But now we must take the next step. And the next steps must make sure that we do not repeat what went wrong last time round. And there are some very good suggestions in your paper, which we will take up. And that is how we better control, how we better monitor, how we ensure local participation, how we roll the benefits to the local communities and the citizens of the region. Those are the principles around which the review is hinged. And I am in full agreement. There is no quarrel. You are right, the going is tough at the moment. It's difficult. If you are a wounded buffalo, well, maybe we are the wounded elephant, but it's very tough wherever we go. And there are companies that are misbehaving because, I don't know why, but there are also laws that must be implemented and complied with. If they don't pay their workers, well, there is a labor law that makes sure that if they don't behave, they can be brought to court. But the fact that the going is tough should not push us into a situation where we now start to disagree with each other. We collectively have the tools to fix what is needed to be fixed so that we have a more prosperous future for us. The more we quarrel, the more difficult it will be to find solutions.
Ironga Talk brings you community news in the Ironga region. For news-related or advertising queries, contact Ironga Talk at synergy.com.na. Ironga Talk, our community, your news.
Hello, my name is Edingongo Famino and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Better Peg Manufacturing. Well, Better Peg Manufacturing is an eco-business, so we're a recycling business specifically based into the recycling of plastic waste. These are the plastic bottles, plastic bags, plastic jugs, plastic toys, anything plastic. And then we turn them into beautiful, reusable tiles and pavers for construction.
Okay. Tell us, how did you come about with this idea?
You know, when I was matriculating, I came across an article that actually said by 2050, there'll be more plastic waste than actually fish in the ocean. That triggered me. So I started researching on, plastic pollution, the effects of plastic pollution, and what we can basically do to reduce, reuse, and recycle plastic. That's when I came across the idea of now permanently turning plastic waste into these tiles, because we are going to be removing this plastic waste from the environment for good.
Okay, you are one of the beneficiaries of the Sanlam Bridge project. Tell us how you felt when you learned that you are one of the winners.
Well, basically, to be honest with you, there's no feeling to describe that. It's very much overwhelming, and it was so exciting because, to be honest with you, for many startups in Namibia or anywhere else, it's very much hard to come across capital because we're still at the beginning stage, so you're struggling, you have to bootstrap and all that. So being a beneficiary of the Sanlam Bridge is really an honor for me and a pleasure.
And so what does this mean now to your company in general with this your financial assistant?
Well, the Sanlam Bridge grant is going to go a long way for Better Pig Manufacturing because it's going to help us to fund, some of the early startup needs, finish our registering our business, as well as, start trying to produce our prototype of the product that we're working on.
Okay. You earlier mentioned about you recycle all kinds of plastic. Tell us the source of your materials. So where do you get them, and do you pay for it, or how does it work?
As you know, plastic waste, we basically source it for free. Well, except for the labor that we have to pay for, plus the transport, of course. And currently we are trying to partner up with different municipalities, communities, so that we can come up with ways on how we are going to be collecting plastic waste. So we collect it ourselves from the environments, from different types of shops, as well as working with some of the laborers that sell the plastic to us.
Okay. Talking about municipalities and local authorities, how does your project help the environment, especially in the town of Rundu?
Yeah, as you may know, Rundu is one of, okay, I wouldn't say that, but then our town, or basically most towns, are very much dirty. Like if you walk around, people just dump waste wherever because of lack of proper waste management. So with Better Pig Manufacturing, we believe we can make this place one of the cleanest towns in the country by reducing the amount of waste that is actually being dumped, because we are going to be recycling it and permanently taking it from the environment.
Okay. Just tell us, in terms of your company, at this stage, where are you in terms of developing your product that you so wish to share with the public?
Yeah, for now, we're still at the early stage, so we still don't have the final product yet. We are finalizing our research and product development. So after we are done with all the business planning, then we can start now implementing and, trying out to get our final product out there.
Okay. Any final words to the public or to Sanlam in particular?
I think my words are actually going to be on plastic waste. Plastic waste is one of the biggest problems, not only locally, but countrywide and worldwide. And many people need to be aware of that. We need to have much more responsible ways of how we dump our plastic and recycle more.
Kletskompas is 'n Afrikaanse kontinuïteitsprogram met Namibiese nuus en onderhoude. As jy jou handelsmerk of veldtog op hierdie platform wil vertoon, kontak klets@synergy.com.na.
Both Nkulunkulu and Rundu are sunny and mild today, with patchy clouds expected tomorrow, but clearing thereafter. Kongola is sunny and a hot 31 degrees today, with temps to hit a high of 36 by Sunday. Katima